All right, week 1 of 52 of Awaken the Everyday Herbalist. And this first lesson may seem a little too basic for some of you, but for some people, this is the very first step that they're taking on their herbal path. So let's walk this whole thing together. What am I talking about? Lesson 1, what the heck is an herbalist? Y'all, for real, what's an herbalist? If you're going to awaken this thing inside of yourself, who is it? I think the easiest way maybe to define this is someone that works with whole plants for wellness and healing and nourishment. And it's not just working with essential oils, not working with like isolates and just these little pill forms. It's not pharmaceuticals. It's not a nutritionist. It's not working with vitamins and supplements and so forth. It is whole plants. Maybe you've extracted it into a tea. Maybe you've extracted these plants into a tincture through alcohol. We're going to learn how to do all that through this series, but it's the whole plant. And what's cool, the wholeness of this plant protects it and does make it much more accessible for everyone. So anyone can do this. It's in our blood. That's why you've got this. An herbalist is also someone that knows plants. They walk out and they know a few plants around them on the sidewalks in their yard. They're creating relationship with these plants at their feet and standing, towering above them. It's someone that when someone in their home or themselves, when they're sick, you know to steam a plant, to drink a tea. You kind of, whenever something is going on, there's a little bit of a database in your mind going, ooh, mullein, or ooh, thyme, things like that. And that's kind of the language you start speaking, is in the language of that plant would be a great caretaker right now. You may only know 10 plants, and that's awesome. If you know 10 plants really well, that's plenty. For example, just chamomile can be an intestinal antispasmodic. It can relieve anxiousness. It can relieve an itchy rash externally. It can tend to pink eye. It can do so much more than that, and that's one plant. So it's knowing each plant a little more in depth than just St. John's wort antidepressant. That's medical jargon, and that's like drug lingo. That's not what herbs do. They work with all kinds of parts of you because there's so many parts to them. An herbalist looks at symptoms as clues and signals. Like if I get sick, I'm like, all right, let's do this. What am I seeing? What am I feeling? It's not something just to suppress. What an herbalist is not going to do is when there's a cough, a productive cough, an herbalist is not going to take an over-the-counter cough suppressant, because we know that there's junk in the lungs that needs to come up. We're going to support that cough with an expectorant and to help that sputum and everything come up faster and help the body to do what it's already trying to do even more effectively and efficiently. You do not have to sell herbal products to be an herbalist. That's by no means. What you do for a living has absolutely nothing to do with if you're an herbalist or not. An herbalist is who you are. You're a person that works with plants. That's it. And another thing with herbalism that can be overwhelming, but I find it kind of freeing, is there's no end goal. You're never going to reach the end of being an herbalist. You're constantly learning, you're constantly absorbing, you're constantly in commune with plants and other herbalists and learning and growing. And that's so cool. There's no particular certification. You don't go do a college course. That's what does make this so accessible. There's so many ways to learn herbalism, free and paid, that you, again, it can be like, where do I start? That can almost be paralyzing to some people, to most of us in the beginning. But ultimately, when you kind of get past that first step of like, okay, there's no particular way this has to look. I just am going to work with plants and see them as community and be empowered to do this. Because other than creating this larger community and realizing that you are a part of nature and have a larger family, you just expand. I can't even explain how much you expand. You are empowered, because when the little one has a cough or you have a cough, you're not like, oh, what's this going to turn into? You're like, I know what to reach for, and you kind of know which herb matches the way that the cough sounds. If you do find yourself needing to go to the doctor, it's not this scary situation of like, I'm going to have to do what they say. You're going for a professional opinion to get some information that you're seeking, and you choose what you choose to do according to what they say. To be an herbalist doesn't mean that you have to like turn your back to the medical establishment. It's just you no longer feel like weakened by not knowing enough. It's you feel empowered with what you know. You can gather the information from what they know, and we can blend the information together and find a true sense of wellness and healing. So with each of these lessons, what I'm going to give is a step forward, okay, for the next week until this next lesson. What can you do to step forward on your path of awakening your inner herbalist? You're going to be the herbalist in your home. You are. You will be the plant person. Just by following each of these lessons, there's something that's going to burst open inside of you, and maybe it already has burst open and hopefully I can add to it, or it's going to burst open brand new and a whole world is going to expand inside and around you. So step one is build your herbal library, build your learning library, and don't just sit at it and stare at it and dig into it and learn. I'm a little bit of a book hoarder, so I'm speaking to myself too. So a couple books, and this can, again, you look at books online, you're like, where do I begin? You find whatever suits you, but here's just a place to start in case it feels overwhelming. One of the first books that I recommend to students is Medicinal Herbs, A Beginner's Guide by Rosemary Gladstar. I love that book. Another one is Making Plant Medicine by Richo Sech. Both of those, if you have those two together, really good library, 2 books. Podcast, I have a little list here I'm going to have to read off of. I like The Plant Path, HerbRally, Herbal Highway, a holistic herbalism podcast, and if you want to hear me talk about something, we have one called Sippin' Teas and Huggin' Trees. Online resources, the American Herbalist Guild page, which is a whole world of herbalism to wake up in front of you. They have, it's called a public webinar archives, and if you go onto their page, you can find the public webinar archives, and it's all of these classes and webinars and workshops and so forth that have been videoed, and they're free to the public. So it's just like an amazing resource right there for free. Really cool if you like learning through video. And lastly, I can't say enough about conferences. Just about every herbalist I know remembers their first herbal conference as this incredible turning point to where you find like herbal community. There's just something that burst open inside of you at an herbal conference that I cannot explain if you haven't been to one yet. So really check out one if you have the opportunity. Some of my favorites: in March, there's the Florida Herbal Conference. In May, there's the Midwest Women's Herbal Conference. In June, the International Herb Symposium. Holy crap, y'all. This one is like the be all end all, and it happens every other year, and it's happening this year in 2023. In September, there's the Midsouth Women's Herbal Conference. And October is the American Herbalist Guild Symposium. So overall, to end this, another step other than building that herbal library is just starting to incorporate herbs into your everyday life so that it is every day. You are an herbalist every day. It is awakening within you, and it becomes as easy as putting on your shoes to work with herbs. This morning, I woke up, I had a cup of our Roots Revival because it's dandelion root and yerba mate, and I wanted to nourish my liver, and so that's what I drank this morning, was this liver tonic. I gave my son nettle tea mixed with apple juice because the kid's a picky eater and he needs some vitamins, and so that's what he's drinking today. Midday, I'm probably going to take some astragalus tincture to nourish my immune system because there's so much junk going around. Tonight, I'm going to take my chaste tree berry tincture in the form of our balance tincture to help with my hormone balance because I need it. And then I will probably drink a cup of Calm or Dreams tea to settle down in the evening and calm my ever-racing mind that's constantly excited about stuff. And that may sound like a lot, but through the day, it just flows as easily as walking. That's just what I do. And so that's where it will slowly just start incorporating into your day, even if it's one thing that you take or one thing that you offer, or just going out and sitting by a tree or recognizing a plant outside. That is you awakening your inner herbalist, and it is in you, and it's super easy because you're supposed to do it, and your body knows it and your brain knows it. So lesson 1, step forward with this lesson. You've got it.